everyone. I'm
Hello.
Victoria.
And I'm Carlos Luna.
And we're here to continue teaching about Roll20. What are we talking about today, Carlos?
Today we are going to touch on macros, rollable tables, and the playlist, right?
Yeah. The playlist is my favorite.
Yeah. If you are watching this in the future on YouTube, this is a Twitch stream that we do. It's an hour every Tuesday. And we go over different topics on Roll20. It's not the most concise of tutorials, but what we're doing is we're talking to the chat a lot of times. So we're answering their questions and we're just going over a topic. This is not anything advanced. This is more for people who are new to Roll20 and want to learn different things about the software.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, do we want to start with macros?
Yeah, let's start with. They're so yeah, I don't think they're so complicated. I think I really want to know everything about them. Mm-hmm. Like I want to be smart enough not to have to reference like everything, basically.
Okay. Well, we can get you to know the basics. The basics are really all you need to build off of.
Yes.
So to begin, at the top right-hand corner, there looks like a checklist, a bullet point checklist icon. If you hover over it, it says collection. You click on that. And yeah. So then you have macros. Now I made this 20. This is just a basic macro. I made this one to test it out. This is just to roll a d20. So I'm going to click on it just to show what it looks like here. So you put the name of it. The name is what you are going to be typing into the chat. So you would put the hashtag plus the name into chat in order to make this macro do the thing. So you want it to be short and don't include any spaces in it because that makes it a little bit more difficult. Then I just rolled in the command of /roll d20. We can test the macro. Let's look at that. Look at there. We rolled a 3.
Yeah. And for anyone wondering what exactly is a macro, why do you need to write any of this stuff? A good way to think of it is a macro is a shortcut for maybe something that you do all the time. Maybe you're constantly rolling 3 dice and it's not on your character sheet. Maybe it's something custom to the game that you're playing. Maybe you're making a new game and you want to call different parts of the character sheet up or different parts of rollable tables that you have. Mm-hmm. Whatever your use case is, you're going to want to build a macro for it. Other than that, you would have to write the code every single time. You'd have to write the commands. It's not so much code as just commands.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what Victoria did here. They had, maybe in this particular situation, they're rolling a D20 that is not on their character sheet, or maybe there's multiple D20s. And instead of writing /roll whatever, they write it one time and then they make it a macro.
Yeah. So all I had to do was type in hashtag 20 and it rolled a D20. Ooh, natural 1. That was not a good roll.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to make it even easier so you don't have to type anything in, you can add it to your macro bar.
Yeah. So the macro bar is awesome, and a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of what Roll20 does is they kind of try to keep the playable area of the VTT as clean as possible. Mm-hmm. So there is actually a bar that once selected in your preferences will pop up on the bottom. So if you notice right above my head to the left over here, right under Carlos Crits, you start seeing these little buttons show up right there. Victoria has turned her macro bar on in, I think it's just in the macro section, right?
It's just in the macro section right here.
Yeah, there's a little checkbox, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a little checkbox. She can turn that on, and next to every single macro that you make, you can decide whether or not you put it in the bar. Furthermore, you can decide if your players can get this macro as well. So let's say you made some type of, maybe one of the characters has some type of wild magic, right? You can make a table for wild magic and you can make a macro for it. So when that player rolls, they can just easily click what weird thing happens when they hit or miss.
Players can roll from table. So
Exactly.
you just click yes. Save changes. So yeah, so that's what your basic macro can do. Now you can do a fancier macro. So we could say, let's say we're going to show you the kind of slower way of doing your attack bonus. Let's say you have a dagger attack that you want to do, and you want to add some flair to it. You can do /me and be like, oh, in the actions. So we'd call this, let's say, call it dag. And then we just do /me. That's just the command saying that I'm the one doing this. It will be in like a third person kind of view.
And let me say, I just dropped a link in the chat. So we don't expect you to know all of these commands, to know all these references, nested macros, nesting abilities, all that type of stuff, how to call up different parts of your token. It's on Roll20 in the Help Center. If you're ever looking for these references. So I just dropped it in the chat. I'll make sure whoever uploads the video on the Roll20 YouTube also puts it on in the description bar as well. You could always find it at roll20.zendesk.com as well.
Okay. So we're just going to say Victoria stabs. And then for the next one, we would do the roll 1d20. Well, you don't even need to do the 1. You just do d20 plus.
Victoria Stabs sounds like your old AOL Instant Messenger screen name that you had, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Victoria Stabs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine were all like really emo. Like it was just like XX, bleed the sun, like stuff like that.
Yeah, mine were always song lyrics.
Always, yeah. You gotta put a really cool Taking Back Sunday or brand new lyric in your AOL Instant Messenger way. Like you just gotta. Anyways, back to macros.
And then you could even do, so I'm putting d20 plus 4. Let's say 4 is the modifier versus AC. And then we could even do it so that it rolls damage all together. 1d4 plus, I don't know, whatever modifier you want.
Yeah, whatever we made.
Whatever you made. And we can test it out. See, there we go.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah. And it went through fine.
Stabs. And it rolls versus AC. It tells you what it is. There's the roll, 14. And then here's the damage, 4. And there's could have put damage as a there so that when we see it, we see that's what it's rolling for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different things that you can do in this. We obviously can't go over programming language or anything like that. But I mean, if you've like, I've seen people use it for all sorts of different reasons. I've seen them do like, what are they called? Like one of those story games, like a story game where you're like rolling on a rollable table and you're getting like what action actually happened instead of dice. I've seen people make custom dice, which is amazing. And you don't think that you can do it, but like say you play like a different game like King of Tokyo or something like that, and the sides of the dice are different, or maybe you're developing your own type of dice, like your own game and your own game system on Roll20. You can do that very easily just by making a rollable table and putting in those dice sides there. We did a coin flip. Just delete that image. I just dropped the Theros image in there. You could delete the image. But it's really simple. So you basically make a table and you can make the table look with the different sides of the dice that you want, right? So say you have a dice that's a hand, you have a dice that's a foot, you have a dice that's, a head or whatever. And you put it in the different parts of the table. Then you make a macro that references that table and how many dice you would like to roll as well. And like, this is great if you're playing a game with, you're going to roll 10 dice every time, or you're going to roll a handful every single time. Instead of typing it out or clicking it 10 times, you make a macro for it that references that table and roll it this many times. That's a great way to do it as well.
Mm-hmm. You can just type it into chat if you want. Or, like we said, you can create your macro. So add your macro, coin. So /roll, and then T stands for table, and then in parentheses, square brackets, you put the name of the table that you made.
Exactly.
Test that out. There we go. We got heads again.
Yep. And you can do other stuff with the macros as well as like targeting specific tokens. So say if you want to target, it won't update the numbers on the tokens. That's more like the API part of it. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to target certain parts of a token or keywords or the strength modifier or anything that you see on screen, you can do that as well. Again, a lot of these commands that show up, they're in that link that I sent. You can just scroll through it, and it's done really well. Like, you can scroll through Zendesk, you can scroll through this help link, and it'll give you like all the references and all the codes that you need to call up different parts of the character sheet, right? So like, oh yeah, and there's a drag and drop part of the character sheet too.
Yes, there is.
Let's see that. That's actually probably more useful than what I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
Explain that. That's really cool.
So you bring up your character sheet, and let's face it, we're playing D&D. So a lot of the things that we're going to be rolling a lot that we're going to want our macros for are going to be our attacks. So you notice down here on the bottom left-hand corner, I've already created a club and a maul one. Let's do one for the javelin for this one. This is super easy. You literally just drag and drop it into the bar. So I move it over, drop it into the bar. Now, the name does not look pretty. So at that point, you right-click it, and you can just rename. Javelin. And there we go.
And I forgot. Yeah, and I think that's because that's the name, that's like the reference of the code to like the very specific part of it. You don't need that for this, so just rename it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's great. Like, I do this for perception, so I don't have to keep reopening my character sheet every single time I want to roll perception. I just click the perception button, and it is on my character sheet. Someone's asking to repeat that. All you do is open up the character sheet, pick something that's clickable, that's rollable. In this example, try perception.
Okay.
So just drag perception
and drop it into the bar.
Onto the bottom left-hand corner.
And then I want to rename it. You just right-click it to rename. Perception. And now all you have to do is press that on the macro bar in the bottom left-hand corner. And yes, I dragged and dropped from the character sheet.
Yep. And you can do that. That's something that a lot of people don't know either, is like, you can drag stuff to your character sheet all the time. So if you go in the compendium and you're like, oh, I really like this spell, and you're like, oh, I have to go through the Charactermancer and do that. It's like, no, you don't have to do it. You just drag the spell to your character sheet, and it'll load right into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now we've got a D20, because you always got to roll those. We got all of our weapons and perception.
Yep. It's awesome. It's like one of the other ones that I really like is when you can do a drop down. I'm going to see if I can do a drop down real quick. Save changes. Let's sing Victoria. Give this to you. Let's see if the drop bar. Yeah, okay. So I just added a macro to your macro bar. See if you could see it. It's called drop bar.
Yep. I just added it to my macro bar.
Awesome. And then go ahead and click it, and we'll check out the syntax afterwards.
Ooh. Name of query. Which option do I choose?
Yeah, so this is a great way if you have something very specific for your character, or if you want to, if you're going through a list of things. So what would this be used for? So, God, maybe you have questions for your players that you want them to answer, that you want them to choose. Maybe there's like, okay, something, maybe this is like damage. So you're trying to figure out, you can write a macro to figure out like, okay, do they dodge? Do they hide? Do they, whatever. And this is great just to, if these are things that you're doing over and over again, just have an input value in there and submit it. And it's really easy if you look at the syntax for it. So go ahead and close that. And click on.
Oh, won't let me.
Oh, maybe because I have it open. Try it now.
Nope.
Huh.
Well, walk me through it.
Yeah. So it's basically a question mark because you're going to be asking a question. And then it's curly braces. So the ones that kind of look like, what do they look like? Like a seagull, I guess, right? Like a sideways seagull, right? Because didn't you used to draw like a seagull that way when you were little? No, was I the only one? Yeah, just like
that. Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it just turn it on its side and it's a sideways seagull. Curly brackets, yeah, open curly brackets. And then the first one is going to be the title of it. So you can call this name. So sorry, it's really slow here on my side. Yeah. And then the line tool, what is that even called? Is that just called line? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The straight up vertical line.
Yeah, the straight and vertical line. Is that just called line?
I don't know what that's called. I just call it a line.
I just call it a line too. So now I'm saying it out loud and I'm probably saying it wrong.
Oh no, maybe in chat people know what it is.
A pipe. Oh, it's called a pipe. That makes way more sense.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Well, thanks, Croy VR. Now we know.
Yeah. The chat's so smart. Yeah, and then you would put whatever options you want, and when you're done, just end it with the curly brackets. So let's say we want to call it name, and we're trying to figure out like different names, right? We want to give our player the option to name this NPC or name an NPC, and they're going to use all these options. So we'll call it like Ted, Phil, and Kevin. And each name we just separate with a pipe, and then we end it with curly brackets.
And end it with another curly bracket.
Yeah, the close bracket.
Okay, so it's open bracket name, then pipe, Ted, Bill, George, Jorge. And
did you separate each one with a pipe? Yep. Did you separate each? Okay, yeah. And just test that. Hit test. See what happens.
No, that didn't work.
Okay.
What did I do?
Let me turn on the thing so I can see the thing. Oh, you have to start it with a question mark because we're starting.
Oh, I thought you told me to make the name of that.
Oh, no. It's question mark, so it's kind of referencing that you're doing an item, a question. You can name it question mark. That's fine. Yeah. There we go. Jorge. That's what you chose for that one. Great. So if you're a game designer and you're looking to build your own game, these are tools that you can definitely use. The deck building tool, the macro tool, the rollable tables. Rollable tables can be turned into dice, or whatever. The sky is the limit.
They are in the essentials in the Phandalin's Tale. I like what they've done here is you can just roll that and a hook, an adventure hook pops up. I love that.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I love, there's something that I played in one game of D&D that, have you ever played Edge of the Empire?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So one of the mechanics that I love in that game is just like triumphs and like epic failures. Yeah, the narrative dice. And if you are really big into role-playing Dungeons and Dragons, narrative dice are awesome because I love when you succeed, but there's a threat in there somewhere. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we succeed in Dungeons and Dragons, like, oh, you did the thing, it's great. That's like the default, right? But like with narrative dice, it's like you did the thing and everything, like something went wrong, right? Like you broke out of the jail. Congratulations. With narrative dice, it might be you broke out of the jail and an alarm went off, or there's a threat. Maybe one of the guards like turned around and heard you. So you can build something like that in there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's tables and macros.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into, okay, this is my favorite. I love them. Playlists. I will spend 2 hours making a playlist for a session.
That's too much.
No, it's not. It's amazing. I love it.
Too much.
It's so good. I enjoy it.
I don't have any players I care about enough to spend 2 hours on a playlist for.
This isn't for them. It's for me.
It's for you? I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe.
It makes
I don't
my
know.
Experience more enjoyable.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
How many, once I open this up, you're gonna see how many things that I've got. All right, so Jukebox. We go to it's a bunch of lines with a music note on it, a quarter note, and we go to manage audio.
Look at you just dropping some music knowledge. You're just like quarter note in case you guys don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to read music.
My mom's a music teacher. I learned how to read music before I learned how to read.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in kindergarten.
Never learned how to read music. I was in band for years and never learned how to read. It was horrible. It was god awful. I just felt like a criminal every time I went to class. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah. But anyways, enough about my high school career. Yeah, so playlist, managing audio. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do this. All right. So I love going into Incompetech, mainly because I use Incompetech a lot for when I do digital content creation, because it's royalty-free music as long as it's CC Attribution 3.0.
What is this called? I've never used this.
You've never used Incompetech?
No.
Oh,
I've always
friend.
For like what do you mean? Like for like stuff that you put on like YouTube or publish?
Yeah,
you can
you can use it. It's Creative Commons attribution. As long as you attribute it to him, you can use it.
Oh, never did that. I subscribed to like one of the Epidemic Sound or something like that. Yeah, but that's awesome. I didn't know that existed.
Oh yes, and it is incorporated into Roll20. Now, I'm gonna show y'all a little trick, because sometimes searching in Roll20, unless you know what the tags are, like you know that you want to have epic battle music, you can just type in the name, the word epic, and then all of the music by Kevin MacLeod, who is in Comptech, will pop up, and then you can preview it. Like Ambush. This might be a little loud because I don't have this. It'll start. Can you hear that?
I cannot.
Well, there's a delay, so you probably can't hear that on Twitch, because you also have it muted. But people on Twitch should be able to hear this. Because this is me right now previewing the music and saying, okay, do I want this song Ambush in my game? And I'll be like, yeah, I do. So I just add to, well, as you can see, I have a whole bunch of playlists already.
Yeah,
a lot. I can change, I'll just add it to Epic Battle. So now when I go to my playlists on the top, this is my playlist. I can add it to the game, and I have all of this music in there.
Oh, wow. You added all of them really quickly.
Yeah, because I have already have this created. Gotcha. And then now you should be able to hear this on Roll20 as I press play.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And then you can set those up to be random, like shuffle them. You can set it up so you just want it to play that one song over and over again, or you want this playlist to just repeat. I do that a lot, where I want playlists to repeat because I don't know how long a scene is going to take, especially when it comes to battle. And I just have a bunch of songs in there. And as you can see, I have a playlist where I call Melancholy Strings for sad types.
For sad.
For sad types of scenes. And then I have another one that's just battle. And then I have one for city building because I'm running a game where they're founding their own city. So we have certain sessions where they're building their city, and so I wanted music just for that. That's the Broadswords finale music that I played for when we recorded that. And this is for some monster or some masks games that I'm running. But yeah, so you can just create your track. You can pick your tracks, the ones that you want. You can do it from tabletop audio or battle bards. They have lots of sound effects. If you want to be able to use sound effects.
Yeah, someone just mentioned that in the chat actually, which I also think is awesome because you can play them at the same time.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
So you can have your music playing and then you can layer your sound effects on.
Yeah. So like that's really cool because you could always put in like atmosphere, music, and sound effects. Oh yeah, that was really loud. So yeah, you can put in atmosphere, music, and sound effects all at the same time if you want it to. Because some like I prefer like atmosphere. I think atmosphere is really sets the stage in a game. And you know, some people said it in the chat like it's a little distracting when you have music in. I totally get that. But like atmosphere is really cool. Like if they're in an old creaky abandoned house or something like that. And then you know what else is cool, which I like about sound effects, is not describing it when I trigger it. So if they're in an old creepy house or whatever, I will trigger a sound effect and not explain it in narration. Like just make them get like, what was that? Because now they're actually in the game. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. You can control the master music volume level. If you go to your settings icon, it's right at the top. So you can control how loud and quiet that is. So I'm sorry that sound effects was really loud. It was just on default volume. I brought the volume down for you.
You could also have it play on load as well on the page.
Yes.
So if you go to the settings, the page settings at the top of whatever page you have, you could have it so, you know, so you're not pulling it up at the last minute. You're like, oh, you leave the castle to go to the woods, and then you go to the pages for the forest, and the music automatically starts playing for those players when they get to that page, which is fun.
Right. I'll bring you to Axholm now.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Like I'm in Stranger Things.
Anyway, we'll go back out of there. Yeah, so that is your playlists, which you just connect. So how I did that is I went up to the banner, to the page settings, you scroll down, play unload, choose which one you want, which playlist or which track you want that you have set up. And then you press OK, and whenever you go to that page, it'll pop right up.
Awesome.
Now, I'm going to show y'all a trick. It's not really a trick. It's just a tip. Because sometimes searching through those songs can be a bit iffy. So that's when you can go to Incompetech's actual website. It's free. You do have to have an account, but it's a free account. So it's in comtech.filmmusic.io. And you just go to search. And I like to search by mood. So as you can see, you can search by, I want epic, suspenseful music. And you press search, and then it will list all of the songs with those tags. And then,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you can also say I want like a really long song. You can then filter it by how long the song is. So let's say I want songs that are more than 1 minute up to 5 minutes. Search now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. This website's lovely. And then you can just say like, okay, now I know I want the song Undaunted. So that's when I just go back to my Jukebox, manage audio, search in the tracks, Undaunted. But as long as I'm under the uncounted. And there's the song right there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Super easy.
It is. So I tell everyone to go to the actual website in comtech.filmmusic.io because then you can filter a little bit more. Because if you're like me, you want to listen to everything and you want to find out about everything and play all the music, like me.
Yeah.
Then it's very handy to just go to that website and find it. It's just you can really pinpoint what kind of music you want. But that's my sound designer coming out.
I love it. Troy VR asked, can you macro sound / mute? Can you macro sounds / music? You can't, but yes, you can. So you need to be a pro level, so you need to have access to the API, because the API scripts would be able to access the jukebox and call up those functions. So yes and no. So yeah, you could, if you had that and you knew how to use the API and stuff like that. So there are API scripts. Like I know someone made a I think it's called Roll20 Audio Master. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the API that people use on Roll20, which is great. I think they've again, it's been a while since I used this, but I'm pretty sure that you can use it to have it like fade in and out music when stuff happens, or have like certain sound effects when like tokens get hit or something. So if they lose health, they'll go or whatever. Again, you have to program that type of stuff in there, but yeah, you would definitely be able to make some macros if you had that.
Mm-hmm. And Reggae Stark, it's when the players are there that it starts. It starts for that player. So if you have one player in one page and another player in the other, they could be listening to two different playlists.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I thought they listened to.
So if you split the party and they're on different pages.
Oh! I thought if they went into the same page at different times.
Oh no, they're listening to the same thing.
Okay, cool.
But if they're on two different pages, if you split the party and they're on two different pages, and you have play on load two different playlists, then they would be listening to their own music.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else do we need to talk about today? I dropped the macros in there. I'll also drop a link for dice references. I think those help too. There's all different types of dice that you can roll and that you can reference. So I just dropped that in there. Again, the roll20.zendesk.com has great references for a lot of the information that we talked about in this entire series. So if you want to learn about dynamic lighting and fog of war, if you want to look like APIs, macros, dice reference, sheet development, it's all on this page, and you can definitely do a deep dive at your own time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If any of you have any questions about those, we would be happy to answer them.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. It's the way I like to look at it is I like to look at that section, that macro section, as rollable tables and decks, right? Rollable tables can be pretty much any item in a series that you want in these little, like try to think of it as like these little modular mechanics that you make, right? And then decks is kind of like, again, very similar, but you get a different like layout for those things. So you can like shuffle the deck and deal it. But macro kind of rules the entire VTT, right? So like a macro, you can use a macro to call a rollable table, a dice roll, like some type of ability or something like that. So it's easier to think of that section kind of like that. Like, I know it's overwhelming sometimes because there's so much that you can do. So I'm trying to give perspective on like how you might want to look at those things. You don't have to, and one doesn't need the other, right? You can make a rollable table and you don't have to make a macro. You can make a macro and you don't have to make a rollable table. Like it really depends on like what you're building and how you want to build it. But just play around with it. It's really cool just to go to like the help center and just copy and paste some of the examples that are there. And like, I mean, that's how people learn how to code, right? Like people just trial and error and you just would start learning.
Yeah, that's how I figured out how to create character sheets on here. I just went to the help section and took their kitchen sink example and just rewrote it to what I needed it to be. And I was able to make a sheet for a friend. So yeah, you just copy it and change some words around and see what happens.
Exactly. And a lot of the commands and references are specific to the character sheet that you loaded in that game. And when I say character sheet, I don't mean like character sheet that I made for my character, my specific character. I mean the character sheet that represents the system of the game that you loaded. So if you're playing, Pathfinder, that character sheet is different than Dungeons and Dragons. So there will be different commands for each to reference in the sheet. You could always check it out though. Like if you go to, so pull up a character sheet actually really quick. You can go into Quizzle.
Yep. I'm in Quizzles.
Great. Click on the attributes and abilities section.
Attributes and abilities. Yes.
Yeah. So you click that tab and you see attributes and all these very specific. Oh, no. Click the tab at the top. Sorry. So it says bio, info, character sheet, attributes and abilities. Yeah, cool. So those names in the attributes a lot of times refer to the actual command codes as well. So when you're building macros and you want to reference race from this character sheet, this one's easy because it's called race. But let's say you wanted to reference something else that's a little bit harder. Spellcasting ability. It's literally spellcasting _ ability. And you'd be able to reference the character sheet. An easy way to look at the character sheet is from this page, and you can see all the different commands that you can reference to pull that up in the sheet. Yeah.
Death save bonus.
Scabby Rooster's asking, call you hinting that you're releasing a walkthrough on the Stream Deck. Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I don't think we were planning to do that today, but I need to write that blog and upload it. I can send it to you and let everyone know when we do that. It's really simple and it's really easy to do. You can set up your Stream Deck to work with Roll20. So a Stream Deck is, I don't know if I can't show it. It's plugged in and it only reaches to like right here, right below the camera. So I can't show you what it looks like. But a Stream Deck is basically a little mini programmable keyboard. I mean, it's really tiny. And you're basically making macros, right? So you can call different hotkeys up. You can put a delay on the hotkeys. You can put multiple hotkeys at one time. And it's a pretty simple way to have it work with Roll20. So if I want to click a token and then move it to the back, I can just hit one key and it'll do it for me. It's really cool. But
Fantastic. Wow. It looks like we're not having too many questions today.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that means we're great teachers.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Yeah, is the jukebox dependent on the broadcast and receiving settings? That's a good question. I believe so.
The broadcasting and receiving is about voice and video chat on Roll20.
Play something. I've actually never thought of that before because I always leave it on. But that's a play something on my page right now.
Okay.
Because I actually don't have those options. Okay, it's playing now. So it's definitely playing in my ear. Can I control that? Oh, hold on. Let me log. I'm going to log in as a player and see. So
Okay.
leave me right there. That's a really good question. I never thought about that because I always thought about it for like your microphone and, you know, your video, but is it still playing for other stuff? Okay, so it is playing. Yeah, it still plays.
Yep. That's
so it's
for
just
chat. Voice
yeah.
chat.
It's just for voice chat. So it definitely still plays. If I want to control it, yeah, I have to ask my DM, I guess, to do that, to not play it. Yeah, that's a really good question. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that from a game designer. I was playtesting a game for them, and they were running it, and they had run it on Roll20 so many times. They had like their script essentially and their step by step, and that's how I learned how to do that, was through them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, well,
cool.
I think maybe we're gonna be done a little early.
I think we're good. Yeah, I feel good about this. Feel good. Feel psyched.
I think so too. Well, that's great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I am Carlos Luna, and this was Victoria Rogers.
Yeah, I'm Victoria Rogers.
And this was Learning Roll20. I think we just have one more episode left, right?
Yeah.
Next week is our last episode. We're going to be going over your favorite thing to go over.
Is it?
And I think so, right? Isn't it?
I thought
safety tools.
Oh.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah. Safety tools. Yeah, for sure.
But safety tools session 0.
Yeah, very important. Love to see it. And it, for a bunch of reasons, right? Like it definitely helps strengthen your table, helps you get off to a really good start, and like kind of narrows down what you and your friends can agree on playing for this game that can cover the entire world. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I'm hosting a session 0 tomorrow and I'm excited.
Yeah, we just had a session 0 last week for indoor recess. It was really fun. Just went over stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we will see you next week at the same time, everyone. And until then, stay safe.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.